Today we're going to be making some food with cabbages. These are two cabbages. We have a green cabbage and a red purpley cabbage. The green cabbage is about 41 ounces and the red one is 43 ounces. Cabbages. So after washing your cabbages, you're going to go ahead and cut them into quarters with a knife. Ta-da! And the next step will be to either slice finely with a mandolin, or you can use a cheese grater to shred it, or you can use a knife and cut it finely with a knife. I am using this cheese grater. It's not the best tool for the job, but it's what I got. Just shredding it nice and small. So there is our shredded green cabbage, and next we'll do the red cabbage. Okay, so I finished grating the rest of the red cabbage. I had a lot of it, so we've reserved some for salads. It adds a nice crunch to salads. This one I cut more as strips, and I did that using a knife. It got kind of messy with the red cabbage. I got like a red hand. In the meantime, you can start sterilizing your jars. I'm bringing a pot of water to a boil, and I have my jars and lids inside, and I'm gonna let them boil for 15 minutes. We're gonna turn on the vent fan while it's boiling. So the next step will be to massage your cabbage. I'm gonna add salt to each bowl and massage with my hands until the natural juices get released. Quick note, the sauerkraut actually requires more salt, whereas the cabbage pie requires less salt. I had divided into two bowls and added the same amount of salt to each bowl, but actually what I should have done was added about 1 tablespoon for the sauerkraut cabbage and then about 1 teaspoon for the cabbage pie cabbage. For sauerkraut, for safety reasons, you want to use between 1.5 teaspoons and 2 teaspoons of salt for every pound of cabbage. And what that does is it helps prevent mold and helps the fermentation process. And now we're going to massage. You just kind of squeeze it and just mix in your salt. And as you can see, if you get a close-up here, you can see that all the liquid there. Okay, and now we're gonna do the purple cabbage. We're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna massage it, mix up the salt, and release the natural juices. And that's what the red cabbage looks like after getting massaged. And so now we're just waiting for our jars to finish sterilizing. Pepper! And now we're gonna fill our jars about halfway with our sauerkraut, and we're gonna pack it down real tight. You can use a wooden spoon, or you can use like a mortar or the pestle part of your mortar and pestle. And this is what they look like before I pack them down. And I'm gonna use the rest of the cabbage in the next recipe. Okay, so I finished packing down the cabbage. The goal is to push the solids down below the level of the liquid. Be careful not to overflow. I did fill these a little too high, so just be careful. And then over the next 3 days, we're going to let this sit out on the countertop, these 3 jars, and they're gonna ferment at room temperature. And once or twice a day, I will be pushing down the cabbage using my pestle just to release any trapped air bubbles from the fermentation process. And be careful, you will notice that when you open up your lid, it's going to let out a little bit of a hiss sound. That's just the gas building up and then escaping. Definitely check on these once or twice a day. You could, if you don't do that, they could explode, and that would be real bad. Real bad. For our next recipe, we'll be making Albert's Unforgettable Cabbage Pie. Preheat the oven to 380 degrees. Oops. First step, we're going to preheat our oven to 380 degrees. Next, we're going to divide one scrambled egg between the two bowls. A half cup of flour divided between the two bowls. This is going to be a 1/4 cup per bowl. And 1/4 cup of oil divided. I'm using peanut oil. You can use whatever oil you desire. 1/3 cup of mayonnaise divided. I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of lemon flavor, 1 teaspoon per bowl. You can also zest a lemon instead if you feel like it. Then I'm going to add a couple teaspoons of rosemary. 1, 2, and a couple teaspoons of garlic powder. You can do fresh garlic if you prefer. 1, 2. And now I'm going to mix these all up. Done. Now we're going to grease our pie pan. Done. You can also use a loaf pan if you prefer. Next step is going to be pressing in our cabbage mixture. There we are. And then we're going to bake it at 380 degrees for 1 hour. It's been 1 hour and I just removed it from the oven. It smells pretty good. The edges are golden brown. And I'm gonna let it cool off, refrigerate it, and we'll eat it tomorrow morning for breakfast.
It's amazing. I'll try the white part first. Buttery? That's the red part. Just like real cabbage. Red cabbage is way better.
It's a little salty.
I go with us next time.
Closely, you can see some air bubbles, so it's very important that I press this down just to help release all of those air bubbles out of the top so they don't build up and possibly cause an explosion. Pressing down on the sauerkraut helps to remove all the air pockets. It's also important to submerge your solids, the cabbage solids, back down into the brine to prevent mold from growing. So here's the sauerkraut after it's been chilling in the fridge. This is the next morning and we're going to give it a little taste. It's tangy. A little crunchy. Try the pink one, which is a blend of the green and the red. This one definitely tastes different. A little sweeter, but they're good.
Tangy. Less tangy. Think like cabbage. The redder the better.